Week 18 in Orchard Park to round out the 2025 Jets season. It's looking snowy and quite cold up there in upstate New York as the Jets are taking on the 11-5 Buffalo Bills today. It is looking quite windy as well, I might say. Those flags look like they're waving. And it's this guy, Isaiah Williams, the team MVP in the building, leading the charge for the Jets today. Hello, everyone, and welcome into Pregame Central, presented by USVI. Caroline Hendershot, Quincy Enunwa across from me. We'll hear from Eric Allen momentarily, but the end of the season is upon us. It sounds crazy to say because it feels like it has been a blur. It's gone by so quickly, but it's also the last game that will be played at Highmark Stadium possibly ever, because the Bills' new stadium, Highmark Stadium 2, I believe it's called, is built and ready for action for next season already. But Quincy, what do you think that kind of on the line will bring for the Bills' energy today?
Yeah, I mean, that actually is a familiar sight right there. The snow, the winds is something that I'm really familiar with. 2015 is the site that it brings me back to the most, the last game that we had in Buffalo. Buffalo ended up playing spoiler for us. We're supposed to make it to the playoffs. I'm hoping that today the Jets can do something a little magical, make the Bills' playoff chances just a little bit harder, get them in the 7th seed. That way they get to play somebody difficult in the 1st seed.
Yeah, there you go. You're holding on to some of those grudges. I like it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I like it and I appreciate it.
I hate that high mic. But I heard, though, that this new stadium is going to limit the wind going through there. So that's going to be good.
I saw that on the Hard Knocks, the preseason Hard Knocks. I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah. But, again, we'll have to wait until next year for that. Now, Q, do you have any positive memories from Highmark Stadium?
I got one definitely positive memory. I remember the last time, or actually the first time we played Rex Ryan. So Rex obviously was the Jets coach. He ended up coming to the Buffalo Bills to get some revenge against the Jets. And we had our opportunity to play him in week 2, I think. And I had a pretty big game. Decker had a big game. Brandon Marshall had a big game. Fitz had a really good game. That season was supposed to be amazing, but we had a lot of injuries, a lot of ups and downs that season. They ended up just not going the way we wanted it to. But it was a fun game, night game. We had different jerseys. The Bills had different jerseys. We got to go out there and battle it out and came out with the win. You can see right there.
Yeah, look at that vintage Quincy Enunwa right there. 37-31. I love it. Okay, well, let's dive into today's matchup because we're going to be seeing a very depleted Jets offense and defense. There's a lot of guys missing with injury and just a little bit of illness out there. So what have you seen in your prep for this game today?
Well, I think the biggest thing is for the casual Jets fan, it's going to feel like a preseason game, right? There's going to be a lot of names out there that you're not going to recognize, a lot of faces you won't recognize. But I think it's a good day for the young guys to get their opportunity to show what they can do. This last season game is big for guys coming up from practice squad. I know my first year in the league, I came up in that last game, got an opportunity to play a lot of reps in the special teams field and got to show what I could do. I think that a lot of these young guys are going to have to do that because the draft is coming up, free agency is coming up. They're looking for guys to replace anybody who's not going to be on the team next year. So you want to put as much film out there, a lot of positive plays out there, and you're going against a playoff team. So this is your chance to show that you belong in this league.
Right, most definitely. And before we get even further into this matchup, no one else is better to preview this matchup for us than our resident Buffalo native himself, Eric Allen, who got to give us the down low earlier today. Thank you, EA, for that. Like he said, Q, no Breece Hall today for the Jets. So they're going to be looking for quarterback Brady Cook to make a lot of plays. So let's kind of dive into this Jets offense with this Buffalo defense that they're facing without Isaiah Davis, without Breece Hall. We're probably going to see a lot of Kene Nwangwu and Khalil Herbert for running backs this year. But how kind of will this limit the Jets' offense in terms of what they're really able to do because they have relied on Breece Hall so heavily?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, obviously, for Tanner Engstrand. You talk about a guy that's really relied on Breece Hall. He's done a lot of amazing things for this offense, and he's been a really big bright spot for this offense, for this team in general, right? You're talking about the first year to hit 1,000 yards, and that's actually amazing to me because you look at his career, you would think that he would have already hit it. Now, obviously, he's had injuries and stuff, but it's going to be a huge undertaking for the rest of the guys to kind of replace that productivity. But I think this offensive line is up for the challenge. You're talking about a group of guys that have played every game together. They got a lot of chemistry. They're going to go out there. They want to end on a high note, and this is the great opportunity because, like I said before, you're putting film out there. You want to make sure that you're playing well against playoff teams.
Now, Buffalo also has the NFL's 29th ranked run defense in 2025, so that's just a good thing to keep in mind. They allow 140.4 rush yards per game. So when you're thinking of that, and obviously that had been a strength of the Jets with Breece Hall there, do you expect Kene Nwangwu? I know he's been a lot of kick and punt return typically.
Yeah.
Do you expect him to still have a big game, even though he hasn't been getting those stereotypical reps?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I think that when you look at him as a runner, he's a powerful runner and a very fast, runner. So I think it's going to be something that you got to utilize, right? You're talking about a guy that knows how to find the holes, get touchdowns in his kickoff return game. So there's every opportunity for him to now do that in the run game. Khalil Herbert is an unknown for us. We don't know too much about what he can do coming off. I know he came off an injury as well. But I think it'll just be a collective effort. It would be a great opportunity for you to add in Brady Cook in the run game, right? Now, this is a game where there's nothing else to lose, right? You can go out there, you can put him in the run game, have him do some things. At Missouri, he ran the ball a little bit. I think in 2022, he had about 500 yards rushing on the season. So he's capable, right? And so just giving that threat there, I think, was one of the things that helped the run game in the beginning of the year because you had Justin Fields, you had Tyrod Taylor, two guys that can run the ball, can kind of get out on the edge, make it a little bit challenging for the defense because you don't know who's going to get the ball. And so this will be a great opportunity again for them to add that in.
I was going to ask you if you thought there would be more designed runs for Brady Cook.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge because although you don't have anything to lose in terms of there's no other game after this, who is the backup and do you trust him? Hendon Hooker, I think, is a guy that they brought up, right? And so how much of a grasp of the offense does he have? Do you want to put him out there and risk that? So I think you're gonna have to balance that. But again, you are going to be a team that's scrapping with a little bit of desperation because it's the end of the season, and also you want to kind of give a sour note to this last game in Highmark Stadium. So you should pull all the stops out and do whatever you can to get this win.
Right, kind of like you were saying, nothing to lose. So like, why not just kind of really go for it? I will say we're looking at some offensive line players. They are poised to make their 17th consecutive start this season together at Buffalo. And this is the first time since the Jets have started the same offensive line all season since 2012. Wow. So that was a big point of emphasis in the last couple of seasons. And what they were able to come away with this season has been exactly what they were looking for. So that's a big positive takeaway. So let's talk about the Bills' pass rush, because how do you feel like they are going to affect the way Cook is throwing the ball, what he's making decision-wise, and kind of just that aspect of the Bills' defense?
Yeah, I mean, I know they have some guys that are injured. I know Bosa was questionable. They had a couple other guys in the middle that may or may not play, right? So that's going to kind of affect what we're going to see from the defense. But I think the biggest thing, and it's going to be the thing going from now into the future, is guys got to stop shooting themselves in the foot, right? So he's got to take away of the unforced errors, whether it's a false start, a hold, all those different things that put you in second and unmanageable, because then those are the real challenges, because now you're talking about a defense that can really get to the passer, right? Really affect how you kind of want your game to go. So I think for these guys, it'll be about going out there and just playing a clean game. If you can do that, then you don't have to worry about the other side. The biggest thing about offense is we're always thinking about ourselves and how do we come to play. We're not really worried about the defense because at the end of the day, it's really about what plays we put out there and how we manage to get these plays accomplished, because you always have so many options. And so if you take away your options, then it's really hard to play.
I will say Greg Rousseau leads the team with 7 sacks. He's had 4 over the last 3 weeks, so he's been kind of getting hot as the season is ending. And Joey Bosa, you mentioned he was questionable coming into today. He has 5 forced fumbles, which is the most in the NFL right now. But we haven't even talked about their safety, Cole Bishop. Yeah. He actually has the most interceptions for Buffalo with 3. So when you have someone like that, and even linebacker Matt Milano kind of in the middle of the field, how does that change how the offense kind of operates?
Yeah, they also have, I think Terrell Bernard is another guy in there that also was on the injury report. So, I mean, I think it is a challenge. It is difficult. You know, they're a playoff team for a reason. They're one of the top defenses in the pass game for a reason. So they're going to make it really hard for Brady Cook. I think Brady Cook has to find out what he can do in terms of what are his strengths and how they can maximize it. So if Tanner Engstrand has a big challenge on his plate today, because I think for him as well, he hasn't put out the product that he's wanted to. It's been a lot of miscommunications, whether it's in the pass game or in the blocking schemes. Guys just have not come together and made this offense look the way that it's supposed to look. Now, we can praise the run game as much as we want to, but I think the overall picture of the offense has just been pretty poor, right? And I think that's not what you want to put out. That's not the product you want to put out. So, again, you got to go out there and show that this is what we are capable of at the end of the season, so you can go into next season knowing that you can do some good things.
Yeah, like you were saying, the Bills have the #1 pass defense in the NFL this season. So how do you expect someone like Adonai Mitchell and John Mechie to be utilized by Tanner Engstrand in this game so that they can be productive against this passing defense?
It's tough because I've been trying to figure out, okay, what is the identity of the offense? You know, I think that they've done a good job of moving guys around, but it just hasn't come out to fruition, right? Going into the season, you talk about it. If you have an offense that is top in the run game, you think that the play-action pass will be great, but they actually don't do too well. I think once the play-action pass comes out, a lot of guys are missing blocks. You have a lot of guys unblocked. I think they have the top unblocked pressures in the league, right? So there's a lot of holes in there, right? So you've got to figure out how to get the ball to your playmakers. And right now, they're one of the only teams that are under 3,000 yards passing. So it would be amazing. I think they're like 300 yards below it. Now, this isn't something I think can happen, but I think the aim should be to go out there and throw the ball as much as you want to as well, right? Get the ball out down the field. Now, again, this is a defense that's challenging. You also have Brady Cook, who is struggling in the last few weeks, but I want to put points on the board. I want to go out there and have a big game for these guys. I don't want to go out there and play timid. I think even Aaron Glenn has been hearing a lot of the noise from the outside. He made some comments after the game about effort, and then he took them back. But I think at the end of the day, the guys in the locker room have to believe, like, even if he believes that coming out of the game, we got to go out there and put the best effort in that we can and go and show that we are a better team than what we put out there.
Yeah, and truly, like, I'm really kind of attracted to the way that you're saying there is no reason to not try things that maybe, like, you've been apprehensive to try this season or maybe haven't worked in previous games, because really what's the harm in doing so? Yeah,
I mean, simplify it. I think, you know, whether or not it has been simplified, I can't speak to that. I don't know what they're putting out there. I don't know what they're talking about in the locker room. But I think if you can simplify the offense as much as possible, then you can just have guys go out there and play free. I think sometimes when I was playing, right, one of the things that I look back on, I think, was that made it difficult for me when I was playing was that I would overthink. And sometimes I see guys overthinking, and then you end up messing things up. Sometimes it's better to just play freely. You know, go out there and not have to think too much. Make it as easy as possible. You have a young quarterback. You got an offensive line that has been playing for a long time. If they just are able to just hear a play simply and go and play that, you might end up having different results. And,
you know, someone who has been playing freely, I feel like the last couple of weeks, is this guy you're seeing right now, Isaiah Williams. He has really just gone up and to the right, as in, like, I would say the last 4 or so weeks. So obviously he was up there last week in terms of the receptions he had, 4 receptions for 30 yards. What do you expect from him in this final effort of this kind of incredible roller coaster season that he's been on?
I mean, you got to reward your team MVP. You know, I think this is a great chance for him to go out there and do some things on the offensive side. You know, we've gotten to see some glimpses. A couple games ago, we even got to see him make some great catches really helping his quarterback out. I think you continue to do that this week. Give him some more opportunities, right? You already know what he's capable of in the kickoff return game, and Buffalo is going to do their best to take the ball out of his hands. So give him some opportunities on the offensive side, because you don't get the MVP for doing nothing, right? This is a guy that deserves to get more opportunities going into the offseason, going into next season, knowing that, this is a guy that's important to this team.
Well, not only is he important to this team, to his teammates, EA got to sit down with Isaiah Williams after being named the team MVP and discuss kind of what that meant to him. So let's take a listen now.
This is arguably the best special teams unit in the National Football League, and you were just voted team MVP by the guys in the room. What does that mean to you?
It means everything to me. Like, it's an honor, and it's an honor coming from the guys inside the building, because they see everything. Like, they don't just see Sunday on the game field. Like, they see how you practice. They see how you prepare. They see the extra you put in. And when the guys could vote for you, something like that, it shows you, like, what you doing has an impact on people. Like, people noticing, like, bro, like, we see what you're doing for the team. Like, and I feel like, for me, my biggest thing is, like, impact. Like, what am I leaving? You know what I'm saying? It's for people. And I feel like when you get voted MVP by your teammates, it shows, like, people watching what you're doing, and it's having an impact on you, whether you know it or not. Like, because honestly, like, sometimes you just going and you just in your routine and you don't notice, like, sometimes people watching, like, they noticing, oh, he put in extra, like, he doing X, Y, and Z. And then I feel like once you have that, then more guys come along and then they start doing the same things, you know what I'm saying? But man, it's an honor, it's a blessing for sure. And it just like kind of affirms you, like, you doing the right things, you know what I'm saying? More than just on Sundays, like every day in the building.
Yeah, he has been a phenomenal story to follow along with all season long, and also a phenomenal person to talk to. He is so thoughtful in his responses. I've appreciated every second that he's given us this season. All right, kind of let's turn this page and talk about the other side of the ball, the Jets defense, who are going up against Josh Allen and this Bills offense. Now, Josh Allen did not have a full week of practice. He was a limited participant, but he was practicing by the end of the week. He had a foot injury. So there's a lot of factors, I feel like, for this Bills offense. There's Josh Allen with his foot injury that he's coming off of. They have already secured their spot in the playoffs, but, they could move up a couple spots. They could stay at 7. They're also coming off a loss against the Eagles, where they scored the least amount of points that they have scored all season long. So what do you kind of expect the attitude to be of this Bills offense?
Hey, that's a good question. I mean, everybody takes a different philosophy, so I'm curious to see as well what they're going to do. But I think the biggest thing for them is you're talking about Cook, who is the leader right now in rushing yards, and they may want to give him that rushing title for the year. That's a great mark for not just the player, but for the team, right? You talk about the pride that guys take in just Breece Hall getting 1,000 yards. For you to be the leader in the league in rushing yards, that's a huge accomplishment. So I think that's something they're going to be looking at. Right now they're looking at the Colts game and seeing that actually Jonathan Taylor is behind the quarterback in rushing yards. So they may not have to do too much for Cook to keep that rushing title. So that's not something where if he does not move up too much, then there's a chance that James Cook might not play too much today because they might not need him to keep that title. I think with Josh Allen, that's a guy that he may play maybe just a quarter, maybe just a series, right? You don't want to do too much. You want to go into the playoffs with everybody fresh because you don't get that first round bye, right? You lost to the Patriots, and now you're not going to be the top of the division. So you have to make sure that everybody's healthy going into that playoff week.
Do you think it's more so a time duration for how long they keep Josh Allen in, or is it like a drive count, snap count?
Yeah, again, that's a big philosophy thing, and I can't even speak to it because I've never made it to the playoffs. Right? So I don't know what they may want to do. But when I'm listening to what they say on their side, right, I like to listen to some of the notes and things that other teams are talking about. They're talking about, okay, we want to give him some opportunities, maybe to at least be ready for the playoffs, right? You don't want to skip a whole week. You want to get some hits in there, some throws in there, just kind of keeping yourself fresh. So I know they're going to put him out there, but they may just not put him out there for too long. Just kind of giving him an opportunity to get maybe even into the lead.
Right.
The Jets on the other side, though, are going to have to make sure they're playing tough because you want to stop the run and the pass, right? You want to make sure they're not running the ball down your throat if they do want to give Cook the ball a lot. And you also want to make sure that Josh Allen is not getting outside of the pocket if he decides to do that.
Right.
So I think this defense is filled with a lot of young guys who are going to have to make sure they're communicating well. And that's something that they've been challenged with the last couple of weeks. Now ending the season, it'll be important for them to make sure that they're in their gaps, in their lanes, and are really going out there and playing hard.
Yeah, we're looking at Jermaine Johnson right now on the screen, and he has kind of had Josh Allen's number in previous years. He has really kind of figured out when he's going to flush out of the pocket and how to chase him and kind of get him in a position that works for the Jets defense. So with Will McDonald on IR and just a little bit of a depleted secondary for the Jets, what do you want to see out of Jermaine in a game like today?
I want to see him getting after it. But I will say this is a tough time of the year, right? You're talking about end of the season, knowing that there's nothing left for you, no playoffs left for you, and it's cold in Buffalo.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Buffalo is so hard when you're playing at the end of the year. It can be really challenging. Talk about home field advantage. It's huge. Like, they have home field advantage, and they're going to be looking at you like a wounded animal, right?
Yeah.
Guys out there that don't want to play, don't have anything to play for, and so those are the times where, as a player, you really have to find your will, find your reason for playing, because it can be very easy for one bad thing to happen and now you're like, I'll see you in Cancun, right? Like, that's one of those things that people say. And so you have to go out there, you've got to play for the pride of not only the name on the front of your jersey, for the back of the jersey, because again, all teams are watching this, and you don't want to even let anybody know that you're willing to lay down. I think there's a mentality that you have to have as a football player that is just gladiator. This is a gladiator sport, and so even though you may not actually die on the field, right? I hate to go in that direction. You have to feel like there's a chance that if I do give up, I'm dead, right? So I want everybody to have that pride. That's something that I tried to have while I was playing. I want these guys to have that as well. You can't go out there and lay it down. You got to go out there and play hard, because with football, if the other team is playing hard, there's a chance for you to have an injury, and now you're going into the offseason hurt.
Last one for you before we hear from Eric Allen again. Now, there's no Brandon Stevens in this secondary today. He was downgraded to out yesterday. So he was kind of the last remaining starter in this Jets defensive back room. Now you're going to see a lot of Malachi Moore. You're going to see probably some more Dean Clark, some more Jordan Clark that we saw for the first time last week. So what can they do against someone like Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid, who are those go-to targets for Josh Allen, and kind of just that reputation that this offense has with its receivers?
Yeah, I mean, I think about when the Jets were playing earlier in the season, they did a lot of doubling guys. They did it, the Bengals. The Bengals game, they doubled both their bigger receivers and ended up actually coming out with a win in that game. I think this is another opportunity for you to do that. I don't know how much they've been practicing that, since it hasn't been something that they've been doing recently, but it's something that you can look to here. I think the biggest challenge, though, is last week, Brandon Cooks had a big game for the Bills against the Philadelphia, and that's a talented secondary, right? He's now their deep threat, a guy that they just picked up from New Orleans, a guy that can get down the field, has shown he's gotten down the field. He knows how to do this. He's been doing it for a few years now, right? I think this is a guy that was actually in my draft class, 2014, right? And he's still able to get down the field. So it's a dangerous guy that you have to watch out for. We talked about the other two guys, but this is another guy that you're going to have to keep your eyes on.
Yeah, another good name to keep your eye on, and to remember that he's going to be out there and be a threat for Josh Allen and the rest of this offense. All right, well, let's now head back to Buffalo and hear from Eric Allen, who caught up earlier with Bills reporter Vic Carucci. I appreciated Vic Krejci saying that he thought the new stadium should have a dome on top of it. That would feel so wrong to me because part of playing in Buffalo is surviving those elements. So you kind of have to keep it open, in my opinion. So I'm glad that they did it. Yeah, exactly. We'll see about that wind, though, that they have potentially ruled out. Also on screen, we did see a young picture of young Eric Allen and his father in Buffalo. So that was really sweet. I liked that addition. All right, let's go. Time for Make Your Case, Quincy. You're going to go first, then we'll hear from EA.
Yeah, so I'm going to go. My Make Your Case would be that the Jets offense will have over 5 yards rushing in this game. I think this is a great opportunity for them to show that Breece Hall was a huge factor of why they were running the ball well, but this offensive line wants to show that they are also capable of putting anybody back there above 5 yards per carry, right? This is going to be a difficult challenge because of who this team is now, but they still are one of the bottom rushing defenses in the league. And so this is a great opportunity, again, like I said, to show out and show up.
Yeah, and using that kind of aspect of the Bills defense to your advantage. Now we're going to go and hear from Eric Allen on his Make Your Case and tomorrow's headline that he gave us earlier.
Caroline, as far as my Make Your Case, I'm saying the AFC East is going to be a beast moving forward. The Patriots won the division this year for the first time since 2019. They have a quarterback who could be the MVP this year, Drake May. He's 23 years old. Josh Allen is going to turn 30 in May, but the Bills are not going anywhere. They have made the postseason for a 7th consecutive season. Now, as far as tomorrow's headline, I'm saying the Jets are quickly turning the page to 2026. We know this was a disappointing season for the green and white, but they have more than $70 million probably under the cap. They also have 8 draft picks. They have 2 first-round picks. They probably have 4 picks in the top 50 overall. They have 5 first-round picks over the course of the next 2 years. There's a lot of work to be done, and Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn are going to get after it as soon as this plane touches down back in New Jersey.
All right, thank you for that, EA. Q, what is your tomorrow's headline going to be?
Yeah, so we know that this is the last game at Highmark. So for my headline, it'll be finishing on a high mark, right? So you want to find out who you have on this team, who you have on this roster. The best way to do that is to finish on a high mark, finish the game well, finish the season well. You're talking about a team that has given up over 20 points in the last few games. This is a great opportunity for you to show that this is not the standard of who you are.
And kind of an opportunity for each of the guys on the roster right now to kind of make their case that they belong on the roster and should have a spot on it going forward for next season, because I'm sure not only Aaron Glenn but Darren Muji are going to look at every kind of inch of this roster and see what needs improving, who should stay here, and kind of how they can go forward into next season. All right, before we get to inactives, any final thoughts on how the Jets can get this done today?
I think they got to pull out some magic. We got to see some of the other teams that have beaten the Bills at home, including that 2016 team that I was a part of. Right, this is a great chance again for you to pull some magic out of there, finish this season, play strong, play hard, have some fun.
Yeah, and I do think one aspect that we have been seeing with this Bills team all season long is they have had some slow starts. So if you can capitalize early in this game, that might be kind of the key to your success. All right, inactives for today's game do include Tyrod Taylor, Tyler Johnson, Breece Hall, Brandon Stevens, Quantez Stiggers, Michael Clemens, and Jelani Wood. So you will not see any of these guys on the field today. That's all from us here at One Jets Drive, but we will be with you guys on Jets Overtime 30 minutes after the game ends today. We'll see you then.